What's good? It's Skano. So as this shit show plays out and chaos ensues, namely in Minnesota, the whole ICE situation, these Nazi Gestapos, uh, there's a lot of commentary coming from the UK and Europe saying that Americans need to do what's right and what needs to be done. As far as removing Trump. And first of all, what removal, you know. Because if y'all think, and all this talk about midterm elections, if y'all believe for 1 second, by the, actually, will this country, what state will it be in by the time midterm elections come, roll around? But if y'all think a dictator, I don't know in the history of civilization when a dictator has ever just stepped aside and relinquished power. When has that ever happened? Never. And Trump is a dictator. So we can, put aside this fallacy, this whole charade of democracy. This is not a democracy any longer. This is fascism. Let's call it for what it is. And if you think he's just impeachment, he's been impeached before. Does the Senate even have the balls to remove him? So I don't know, man. If this government gives a damn about America, and this is not just about white America. I know I said, that, namely, largely, in large part, this is, white Americans made this mess, and y'all gonna have to figure out how to. This is an American issue. It's not just about whites, blacks, immigrants. This is an American issue, and that's not for it must not be. It's not lost on me that there was a significant percentage of black men that voted for Trump. Also, y'all a different type of stupid. Regardless if you are black conservative, whatever you want to call yourself, black. And I'm not saying all black folks need to be, Democrat or I don't give a damn what. Does it even matter? As far as, Democrat, Republican, but I will say this, the people that's saying, chirping in, talking about, Kamala wouldn't have done any better and Biden this and Biden that. Name one thing that Trump has done since he's been in office that has benefited the American people. One thing. Because you could say this remigration process, cleaning up, the illegal immigrants, the worst of the worst, and getting them out of here. He's made a shit show of that, because, case in point, Minnesota. Name one thing that he has. So, he will have to be removed. And you could take that for what it is. But, there are people from, Europe, UK, chiming in, saying that Americans need to do what's right, and impeach him and get him out of here. And y'all long knew what the American government stood for. People of Europe, UK, y'all understand what the American government has always stood on. And that's white supremacy. And I'm not here to demonize all white folks in this country because I can't generalize. No, just as I can't generalize all black folks. I can't sit here in good faith and say that y'all didn't understand what Trump was about, though. But as for the people from the UK and Europe or woo-woo, y'all understand what this government has always stood on, and that's white supremacy. And black folks in this country, FBAs have long been the baseline example, of that as far as being the main target. We've always been in the crosshairs of what this government stood on. And not to make this about FBAs, because like I said, FBAs is chilling. While I'm saying a lot of gaslighting and, a lot of cap on the internet about Black Panthers getting involved and black folks need to be out here, and it is an American issue. But, no, this has nothing to do with FBAs. But, I will say this. The people that I'm giving y'all some credit, because I believe it's very disingenuous for y'all to now stand back and, it's like throwing your rocks and then hiding your hands. Y'all voted this clown in office. And now that, like I said, he is trampling on the rights of even white Americans. And now there's an uproar, there's outrage, And the same for you people from, the UK and Europe, different parts of Europe. Y'all knew what this government, like I said, what it symbolized and what it stood for, white supremacy. So when he targets Greenland, all of a sudden now, because, being a part of Denmark, the NATO, what he has done is just totally isolated America at this point, and just running this country into the ground while he enriches himself and his cronies, offshore accounts on Qatar from this Venezuelan oil money, and he's gonna slink off like the dirty rat that he is, when he runs America into the ground with his billions. That's what Trump is gonna do. He don't give a shit about America. But now that he's targeting Greenland, all of a sudden Europe, Europeans and, people from the UK, y'all want to chime in, standing on your soapbox talking about doing what's right. When did y'all ever have a problem with America's white supremacy before, though? I mean, I'll wait. So, as we see, FBAs have long understood, that's why we say we have no alliances, because it doesn't matter what, our struggles, our plights, and like I said, we were the first targets. Native Americans, the indigenous tribes, the first targets, but when it starts to affect others, all of a sudden then, people want to stand up against the big bad bully that the American government has always, presented itself to be, but we've been telling y'all, so, it is what it is, man. And, and like I said, this is not a race issue. It's an American issue. But the undertones of that, it always has been about race. But as we see now, as y'all are starting to see now, I should say, with this regime, this administration, they don't give a damn about race, or lineage. None of that shit matters. It's about total control, and greed, money and power, So, I guess it's a rude awakening. I don't know. And, as far as MAGA, and I'm not, I'm talking about the cultist base of MAGA. They are sitting back. They are loving this shit. Even if America burns to the ground, literally, if this whole shit implodes and crumbles, as long as people of color, black people, brown people, immigrants of color, as long as they suffer, MAGA will be content. They will be content to their very heart, That's what they're all about. You know what I'm saying? Hatred. That's what they have always been about. So they're loving this shit. You know, this is the best case scenario. Well, like I said before, best case scenario would be FBA's getting BTA and deported if that was possible. But, you know, like I said, they have to settle for, you know, the immigrants. But this is exactly what they wanted. And I gotta say, man, y'all are some of the most vilest, sickest, most evil individuals on this earth. You know, you have MAGA people on the internet saying that you know, this woman, Renee Good, you know, she got what she deserved. You hope she suffered as long as possible before she passed. Like, y'all are just disgusting. And y'all are an embarrassment to this country. You really are. And I'm not saying all MAGA supporters, even though y'all a different type of dumb too. You know what I'm saying? But these cultists, man, just racist pieces of shit is what you are. And like I said, y'all have deep psychological issues. Y'all are the worst of the worst. It's not black folks. It's not the immigrant. Y'all are the worst of the worst because y'all don't give a damn what happened to this country. Y'all really don't. Y'all don't care what's best for America. It's all about inciting your primal hatred. You know what I'm saying? This is, you know, and y'all really have issues. But long after this has, you know, passed, America won't ever be the same. You know, a regime change, you know, re-elections. America, this will always stain America's, you know, history. I don't know what America is going to be in the future. Nobody knows. But this will always, just like, you know, what this government did to FBAs and our ancestors, the native tribes. This is another black mark. And I don't think y'all will, you know, y'all don't understand that we're not going to recover from this shit. You know, if he isn't out of office soon, I don't know of what the damage he has done. I'm talking about just globally, not just here in America, but globally. Our stance globally with our allies. Do we even have any allies? You know. So white America is going to see what it's like to be black in a sense. Because FBAs, we have no allies. And that's exactly what Trump is doing to America. You know. And we are the most hated nation in the world. You know, we are. And you can't just wipe this shit clean. You're not going to be able to whitewash this off the record. This will always be on. You know what I'm saying? So y'all gonna have to carry this shit. People that voted Trump in, you know, this is always, if y'all even give a damn. Because like I said, MAGA, they could care less. But for Americans, you know, white America, whatever, the people that supported Trump, you know, good, you know, conscionable Americans who actually care about him, all Americans. Y'all don't have to carry this shit. You know, this is going to always, it is what it is, man. You know, so but like I said, man, it seems to me that it didn't become an issue until it actually, and that's the way human nature works, right? You stand back, you can kind of sympathize with others, but you can't really empathize until it hits home. So it is what it is, man. But as far as, you know, midterm election, will we even have a country by the time I'm being obviously over dramatic, exaggerative, but dictators don't just step aside, you know. Dictators have to be removed. So you know, Take that for what it is. No ops left, Skano. You already know.